what I call the ecosystem is what we've all heard people have to know, like, and trust you in order to buy from you. Like, that's a standard thing. Well, my ecosystem is taking the know, like, trust and turning it into an activity system.
Now, do you feel like this is mainly for, well, let's just say personal brands, somebody starting up, someone that's working for themselves, like you said, or with this, you called it the business, the ecosystem, right? How is that ecosystem? Can you translate that to, a team? Like, let's say a more of a corporate or a consumer brand that's maybe transitioned from the personal brand. Does it work well with those types of brands as well?
I believe it does. I think the nuance to it is that, just like I said, what kind of person am I? And I built the system to match me. For dealing with a team, we want to leverage each individual member of the team and who they naturally are. So I think there might be some tweaks about how this would go. The system still works. What I call the ecosystem is what we've all heard people have to know, like, and trust you in order to buy from you. Like, that's a standard thing. Well, my ecosystem is taking the know, like, trust and turning it into an activity system. So, for example, if I'm going to speak as a marketing channel, people are going to get to know me by speaking. But instead of just speaking willy-nilly, I need to think about, how do I get them to like me? Right?
Mhm.
So I'm going to then go speak and say, okay, I already know that I'm going to bridge them to something that's going to help them like me. And that might be, I don't know, my own event that I might be wanting to promote, or a class that I'm giving. So when I speak, I'm going to then invite people over to the class or the event. And then when I'm in the class or the event, I need to have thought about how I'm going to make them trust me, right? So whether that's doing a one-on-one client experience with me, or whether that's a group coaching program or something like that, but by thinking about it as an ecosystem, I call it spastic marketing. It keeps people from doing spastic marketing, like twitching and doing this and twitching and doing that. Instead, we're going to start linking probably what they're already doing and moving it into this systemic way, that they're already deciding ahead of time how they want to experience people and how they want to bring them through their practice. So to do that then with each individual members of a team, to your question, that might be where things get, personalized. So let's think about, I don't know, a law firm. So law firms look at attorneys as being lead developers for their practice. And so they're going out networking. And networking is a very common KNOW, step of the know, like, trust system. So what happens is attorneys will go out networking, they hand out their card, but that's it. They haven't brought them into the like category. So a smart law firm would have, I'm just going to make something up, like a monthly topical class that maybe the attorneys rotate each month giving. And then every time the attorneys are networking, they already know that they're going to invite whomever to that class. Like, it's an established thing. So one of my sayings is, always have something to invite people to. Always, like, whatever it is, whether it's a recorded something on your YouTube channel or whether it's live, because that's going to bridge people into that. Again, invite them across the bridge. And then once that law firm or those attorneys get people into the class or the educational seminar, they would then think about, how do I bridge them into the trust category? And the trust category isn't just becoming a client of ours. It's, do you know me well enough and now think of me highly enough that you would refer to me, or connect me to a joint venture partner or a strategic alliance partner. So it isn't just like, how, would you become my client? It is, how well are they engaged with me to really say, okay, this person knows what they're talking about and I want them a part of my community. So that's how I would tweak it. And yes, each member of the team needs to think about the know, like, trust that would probably fit them best, but then they can be supported by the firm by having those established events that can make it easier for that business development to happen.
That's beautiful. So because of who our audience is, do you think the same thing would work for, let's say, a yoga studio or a gym where they have multiple trainers with different personalities that have to go out there and be unique about who they are? Do you think that that would work really well for those type of service based businesses?
I think so. Are they typically employed by the location, or are they contract?
Yes, yes,
They're
yes.
employed. Yeah. So that, that's a little different if they're a contract, but it's, what I look at this as, I look at, okay, what is my micro message and what's my macro message? So if I have team members as a part of my business, I want to give them sound bites. Audible, I call it audible branding. Okay. So I want to give them sound bites that are consistent, but also ones that will relay their individuality. So the macro message of the business should be the consistent one, right? It might be the tagline of the fitness studio or yoga studio. Um, uh, I remember one tagline was yoga for the people, or something like that was their tagline. And one of my clients owned a wellness studio, and we came up with healthy people, thriving communities as their overarching brand tagline. So the macro message helps each team member represent the company as a whole, and you're consistent. Then the micro message comes down to, okay, who am I as an individual trainer or teacher? And how do I want to relay my personality? So I'm a very earthy, kind of warm person. And somebody else might be a little more short and to the point person. Now I'm going a little bit back to the disc, and I think disc is really valuable for self-awareness. And it's okay to be disc on your delivery, but you also need to understand that your potential client might be a different style than you. So when you micro message, you want to be sure that you have a rational and a relational benefit. I call it decision making motivator that you can articulate, because the rational benefit is going to appeal to the directors and the contemplators of DISC, which are the people who are task related and rationally focused. And you want to have a relational benefit because that's going to bring the interactors and the supporters in. So with, falling short of us being fortune tellers and being able to know exactly what style people are, we can just simply say, hey, in my micro message, I want to be sure that I'm going to help more people, which is kind of the relational benefit, and make more money. Okay, that's a rational benefit. So when we can come up with those two benefits and make them our own, again, our own languaging, then your micro message is going to be even more compelling, because you're going to land one of those with the person that you're talking with. And so regardless of what style you are. So that's another way to engage and use people who are on a team, like trainers and teachers. Yeah, for sure.
Well, and I feel like that's you know, we're very big on helping personal brands transition to consumer brands, and consumer brands transitioning to what we call community brands. And what a lot of what you say there with the soft selling shows you how important it is to kind of go deep. And that's why I asked you at the beginning about personal, you going through your shift, because figuring out your values and what you even want to bring in, I think, is a very important step that you would probably need to take or have established. And if you're a consumer brand, very similar concept. Maybe if you had your whole team aligned with the brand values of the company, you're bringing in those types of employees, that your system would help so much more, because it would bring in you'd be able to define that audience and who you want to talk to a lot more.
Exactly, exactly. And when I had my wellness studio, one of my commitments was accessibility. So because I had been dealing with chronic illness, at the time I was only diagnosed with chronic fatigue and fibromyalgia. And later in life, I realized it was because of this genetic connective tissue disorder. So my value was accessibility. So every Monday evening, I had a free class for the community. And when I had cooperative instructors in my space, and their part of their contract was to deliver one class every so often, so that I could fill my Monday spots. And it was a win-win-win, because the instructor could get exposure to the public, the studio could get exposure to the public, and then the public could learn about all these natural health modalities, which I was, why I opened the wellness studio. I'm like, everyone should know about these things that I'm learning about, because I'm feeling so much better with what I'm facing. And so that becomes the KNOW step of the development. Like free classes are going to get people in the studio. Then you have a little table on the side, and it's a register to win a free yoga class or something like that. You're collecting contact information on your table on the side. And then you can start, bridging people from the free class, into the paid classes into the studio. So that type of system it's a great way, because it's able to satisfy those three things, like the win-win-win that, like I said, it was fulfilling for me because I was able to honor the importance to me of accessibility. It was free for the public. Oh, here's another side note. The local newspapers publish free things all the time in the community calendar, right? So they don't publish paid things. So it was another way to get out and reach the public. And then again, the instructor got exposure, and then the public got more education. So it's a beautiful system. Of course, I'm biased. It is my body of work, but to me, it is more freeing for the individual or the business, because it's not like you're saying, I've got to get people in the door. It instead of it being this, like, I don't know, assertive, like I've got to do this thing energy. It's more of I get to stand strongly in my brand, be clear about who I help and how, and then invite people in. And then so to me, energetically, that's just so much stronger. And I find that it also brings in more long-standing clientele, whatever your business is as well. Another real quick story. I was working with a fractional CFO. She had left being a CFO for small businesses and started a firm, just herself. And when she started with me, I said, what's the biggest pain of business owners? And she's like, oh, they're always challenged with cash flow. They just don't pay attention to cash flow. I'm like, all right, that's our message. We're going to start, creating this message with cash flow. And about 3, 4, 5 months in, we're realizing we're bringing in business owners who are in dire need of, like, a major restructuring of their business. Like, they're in bad shape, okay, financially. And so she and I were like, okay, this ain't working. We've got to repivot. And so we changed her tagline to developing pathways to profitability for growing local business. And that was her tagline. And so we changed it to profitability. And that's when the tide started changing for her. And she started getting those clients who were more stable with their finances, who were looking to start maximizing profitability. And I worked with her for about 6 years, maybe 7. And we took her from a solopreneur to almost $1 million in sales in that period of time, and 5 employees. So, it's not flash in the pan growth, but it's still pretty stellar growth for an individual business to grow like that in just about 6 years. And it was because we used this system for her. And in her case, she was petrified networking when she first came to me. She's very left-brained, right? She's a financial person. So I taught her how to network, taught her how to convert from networking into the, the no category into the like category, and then from the like category into the trust category. And she started getting so good at networking that we started hosting her own VIP networking events. And so it was invitation only, right? So she got to the point where she was now handpicking who she wanted to network with. And it was like this exclusive thing that people were like, Cheryl invited me into, to her networking event, so it became this big thing.
That's cool.
And that's how she got a lot of referral partners from it, strategic alliances, and she became known as like the networking queen in her area. So it's wonderful to see how people can grow, and we get past. Remember, we were talking about that inner work and those fears and those limiting beliefs, and so we were able to move her past those and really get her into a real growth mode so that she could open that bandwidth and get to the space that she wanted to in her business.